lot of you have asked what happened to my horror stories series. I talked about this at great length on Patreon, but the short story is I was making these videos in 2019 and then 2020 happened. And I didn't want to make any kind of negative content. I just wanted a happy place to escape, and I wanted to create a happy place for all of you to escape during that time. The other part to it, and why I haven't come back to it in 5-6 years, is because my ideas for the videos were becoming more and more grandiose, and I found that I don't have the time, ability, and effort to put the work in that I want to in those videos while also maintaining my channel to sustain myself. So the series is on hiatus, and it's gonna continue to be on hiatus until I can revisit it and explore more and be able to dedicate more time to it. The series is definitely not gone forever, and I do really want to return to it one day. And I've been trying to incorporate similar elements into other videos because I do like exploring just weirdness and like community history. So I have a series that I've made from videos called EGL History, and that has some videos with similar vibes. So if you're missing this series and you want more, definitely check those videos out. And today I wanted to explore some of the horror stories that all of you have sent me, because there's quite a lot, and I thought it would be fun to almost like sleepover style or like Are You Afraid of the Dark present you with these stories. Some people stated very clearly in their email submissions that they wanted to be anonymous, and then others didn't really say so, so I'm just going to keep it anonymous across the board to protect everyone's safety and respect. I'm kind of experimenting with how I'm doing this video. I really wish I had a teleprompter, but these are email submissions that I received, and I've rewritten them to be in a third person, and I'm gonna be using Duffy and Friends to represent those people, so let's see how it goes. Duffy's story began back in April of 2019 when they had rediscovered Lolita fashion and were looking to expand their wardrobe. They turned to Taobao because it seemed far more approachable than navigating the difficult world of Japanese brands. And one day, while searching, they found the dress. Unfortunately, their monthly Lolita budget had already been reached, so they bookmarked the page only to come back to it longingly each day and dream about the day when they could purchase it. When payday arrived, Duffy eagerly opened the website, only to find shock, horror. The dress had vanished, gone, out of stock, out of production. Panic set in. They scoured the internet out of desperation until finally, buried deep in the results of Google image search, did they find a website that still had it. SoLolita. Relieved and thrilled, Duffy didn't hesitate. They added the dress to their cart, along with a bracelet and a blouse. A small voice whispered in the back of their head, check their reviews, research the website more. But they drowned it out with their excitement. Weeks later, the package arrived, but the moment Duffy opened it, their heart sank. The dress was blue when they had ordered mint. Even worse, this particular dress wasn't even made in blue. Confused, Duffy began to investigate. They reopened the website and checked the product descriptions and even consulted Lolaberry. Everything confirmed their suspicion. This wasn't a simple mix-up, this was a knockoff. Upon closer inspection, none of the details matched. There was no subtle print, no detachable bows. The lace was wildly mismatched, and in some spots, beige. Duffy couldn't get over the beige lace clashing against the white accents. The entire construction of the dress screamed counterfeit. They reached out to SoLolita, hoping to find a resolution. At first, the company replied quickly, saying they needed to check with the manufacturer. Blaming the manufacturer. Classic. 3 weeks passed with no communication when Duffy reached out again, and SoLolita told them that the manufacturer was the one who had changed the materials without letting SoLolita know. They offered Duffy $15 off as well as 3 free bracelets with their next order. Duffy, already wary, didn't want a next order, so they refused, as Duffy should. SoLolita countered with a $30 refund. Again, Duffy declined. Then came the offer of a replacement dress, but the measurements weren't even close to fitting. Finally, SoLolita offered a full refund, but only upon the return of the dress, with the shipping at Duffy's expense. The company claimed that they had been victims as well, so they couldn't cover the cost of shipping. No, you're not a victim. You didn't provide what the customer ordered. Like, if it was true, if the manufacturer did change, like, against your will, then before you send it out, you should be like, hey, we didn't get but no, this is all, it's all BS. Duffy, frustrated but hopeful, sent the dress back using the cheapest shipping available, not realizing the risk they were taking by skipping tracking. Oh, my heart sinks. It's so painful. Skipping tracking. Never skip tracking. Oh my gosh, it's like your only safety. Weeks passed. No refund. No acknowledgement. When Duffy followed up again, they were met with silence. At their limit, Duffy opened a PayPal dispute, escalating it to a claim. SoLolita responded, almost immediately, via email, not PayPal, questioning why Duffy had done this and accusing them of lying when they provided the return information. The email was written in absurdly large font, which only added to the unprofessionalism. PayPal asked Duffy for proof of return. Duffy submitted a photo of the receipt, but since the package didn't have tracking and they hadn't taken a photo of the parcel, the claim was denied. They learned later that PayPal offers return shipping reimbursement service, but it also requires tracking and photos of the parcel, which they didn't have. Their money was gone. Adding insult to injury, Duffy noted that the blouse and bracelet they ordered were actually decent quality, likely because they were marketed as SoLolita's original designs. It left them wondering whether the site was reselling cheap items, passing off knockoffs as brand name. Yeah, they were. They noticed that when they did look up reviews, the only positive ones were sponsored, and some were coming from DDLG accounts, which raised even more red flags. And that was the end of what Duffy referred to as their 3 months of SoLolita hell. They were disappointed, sure, but also relieved it hadn't cost more than it did. The experience left them smarter, a bit more cynical, and definitely more cautious.
If you want to order from a trustworthy, affordable, and easy-to-use Taobao reseller, check out 42 Lolita. The dress I'm wearing is from 42 Lolita and comes in a variety of sizes. I know you'll find just what you are looking for, and please consider using my code LOVELYLOR, which will give you a discount and help support my content.
This happened when Shelley only had one Lolita dress and had recently joined the community and had never attended a meetup before. Since they didn't know anyone in the community, they decided to join an online Lolita group to chat and connect with others. That's where they met someone who went by the name Jane. Jane was very friendly and seemed to be the same age as Shelley. They really liked her and chatted with her every day. Over time, Shelley started noticing odd things about Jane's account. There were no photos on Jane's profile at all, and even the way that Jane talked about Lolita fashion felt a bit off. But Shelley was young and new to Lolita, so they didn't think too hard about it. Eventually, Shelley was ready to attend their very first in-person meetup. Jane said she would be there too, and Shelley was thrilled at the idea of finally meeting their first friend in the community. Fast forward to the day of the meetup, Shelley looked around for Jane, but realized she'd never described the way she looked or what she'd be wearing. Shelley had no idea who to look for. Why, oh gosh, do you know where this story is going? I feel like we all know where this story is going. That's when a man, around 50 years old, approached Shelley. He was wearing a shocking outfit. A shiny, far too short dress that exposed his petticoat and bloomers. It didn't resemble a Lolita coordinate at all, and made Shelley feel very uncomfortable. To their horror, the man introduced himself as Jane. Shelley was stunned, because Jane had claimed to be a girl around their age. So this was completely unexpected and unsettling. Frightened, Shelley fled to the event team for support and stayed with them. Thankfully, the rest of the meetup went smoothly after Jane left. Since the event was public, no one could formally remove him, but his presence was clearly disruptive. After the event, Shelley cut off contact with Jane because of the deception. But the messages didn't stop. Over the course of 2 weeks, Jane sent Shelley around 200 messages, persistent and unwanted. At their second meetup, Shelley saw Jane again, and they weren't the only one made uneasy by his presence. Jane circled the group like a predator, and many of the attendees felt on edge. The event organizers pulled Shelley aside to ask if they knew Jane, and whether they were okay with him being there. Shelley said no, and the organizers asked Jane to leave, which he did, but not without stirring up drama later in the group's Facebook page. He accused the community of being exclusionary and claimed they were mean girls who hated men. Fortunately, the situation was quickly addressed and resolved. Only recently, Shelley learned that Jane referred to himself as a sissy. I don't need to explain this term. I've gone over this in this video, so you can go to this video and this timestamp if you need. And I'm also a little bit suspicious. Is this the same person? The person who submitted this email gave me the name Jane for the person, but it's not the name that they knew, if that makes sense. So now I'm curious if this is the same. Anyways, this is because this is similar behavior to what happened with this person. No one is quite sure how he managed to gain access to the private group in the first place. And so, Shelley's first Lolita friend in the community was a 50-year-old cross-dresser who deceived them from the beginning. According to Shelley, no one in the community talks about it anymore, but to Shelley, the memory is still vivid. So the story goes, Stella Lou hosted a meetup in their local downtown area to go antique shopping. It ended up just being Stella Lou, a friend, and then a third person from the EGL group. They had designated a specific shop as a meeting point, and on the day of the meetup, Stella Lou met up with their friend as planned. The two of them walked around the store, waiting for the third person to arrive, and spent about 30 minutes browsing. After waiting a while, they decided to reach out via Messenger to check in. The third person replied that they were running late, so the first two decided to grab ice cream across the street while they waited. By the time they finished, the third person messaged again saying that they were in a different antique shop. They went to the third shop that the third person had mentioned and walked around for another 15 minutes but still couldn't find anyone. Eventually, they were approached by someone in a long white raincoat, jeans, and sneakers, someone they had unknowingly passed about 3 times while searching. The confusion stemmed from the fact that they had been expecting someone in frilly clothing, as would be typical for a Lolita meetup. The third person, whose gender was unclear even in retrospect, pulled out an iPad and pointed to the event page on the EGL group. Pulling out an iPad, like traveling with an iPad, is wild. That's when Stella Lou realized that this was the third person they had in fact been waiting for. The only Lolita-related item that the individual had was an angelic pretty cloth tote bag. Communication was difficult as the person spoke very little English, so interactions were minimal and mostly nonverbal. Though confused, Stella Lou did not want to be rude, so they went along with it. The three continued shopping with the third person silently following them. Attempts to make conversation didn't get far, resulting in mostly awkward nods and silences. After shopping, they all stopped for tea before the third person left. When it was all over, Stella Lou and their friend exchanged uncertain glances, unsure of what to make of the strange and slightly surreal experience they had just shared. I love receiving email submissions from all of you, so if you have any horror stories or anything that you would like me to cover in upcoming videos, as always, my topics email is open to you. There are a few stories I didn't want to get into on YouTube, so there is a companion video for this video on Patreon. Thank you so much 42 Lolita for your continued support of my channel. This dress is from 42 Lolita. I'm gonna be making a short about it with more information, but there's lots of Lolita pieces and styles to be found on 42 Lolita, and if you shop with them, please remember to use my code as it helps support the channel. Oh hey, you're still here. So yeah, my house flooded. That's where I am right now. I'm in my bedroom. It flooded. It's the same. I'm in the very same place that I filmed this video, but now it looks like this. And I'm not looking for your sympathy or support or anything. I'm very grateful that my family is helping me out, and none of my Lolita was destroyed. A lot of my other stuff was destroyed, but my Lolita was saved, and I'm very grateful because I wasn't home at the time. My neighbor came and got it out for me. I've been making posts about this on my Patreon, and even free members can see them, so if you want to know more updates about it, check it out there. But the reason I wanted to bring this up in this video and just mention something is that, like, when natural disasters happen, everyone just assumes that insurance will cover everything, and in reality, insurance doesn't even cover all of the repairs or damages. A lot of insurance claims have a cap. So if you have a very expensive Lolita wardrobe and you may face some sort of natural disaster, it might be worth looking into getting a separate claim to cover your Lolita fashion. Just wanted to share this information with you.